Lei Ling wasn't always a high-flying superhero. Once upon a time, she was just one of Shanghai's most promising architects, reshaping the skyline with little more than blueprints, ambition, and a stubborn refusal to cut corners. Born and raised in China's most vibrant metropolis, Lei Ling graduated from Tongyi University. She then founded her own firm, and then quickly made a name for herself as a rising star in urban architecture. It turns out Lei Ling wasn't just a master of steel and glass. She was born with the rare ability to control the wind itself. She could slice steel with wind blades, summon cyclones without a thought, and she can even soar through the skies. She adopted the codename Aero and became Shanghai's airborne protector, defending the city from arcane threats, supernatural storms, and the occasional animated building that came to life and chose violence. Madame Huang was one of Lei Ling's mentors. She was a revered architect and a spiritual guide in Shanghai, known for her poise, brilliance, and deep understanding of elemental forces. With an air of quiet authority, she carries the weight of old knowledge, traditions that predate skyscrapers and steel. To her students, she's both a mentor and a mystery, blending the artistry of design with something more ancient and something more intuitive. Her connection to Lei Ling runs deep. She sees in her a kindred spirit, someone who could shape not only structures, but the unseen energy flows through the city. Graceful yet mysterious and always 2 steps ahead, Madame Huang speaks in layered truths and teaches with a deliberate, almost ethereal calm, like the wind before a storm. There was a day when the city turned on itself, when the skyline she had helped shape twisted into something alien, and the buildings she once dreamed into life began to move, pulsing with an unnatural force. Lei Ling stood in the heart of it all, watching as the crystalline towers burst through the streets and tore through concrete and glass, splitting her home into chaos. But she didn't panic, she flew. She sliced through the madness, tracing the pulse of something ancient, something wrong. And when she followed that pulse to its source, she found the betrayal she never saw coming: her mentor. The woman who had guided her, taught her to shape the air as much as steel, had been manipulating her all along. The confrontation was sharp, not physically but emotionally. Still, Lei Ling didn't break. She chose truth over comfort, purpose over pain, and carved the sky with clean lines of wind until her city could breathe again. Later, the sea called her, a strange current, something wrong beneath the surface. When she reached it, Lei Ling met a mirror in motion, a fellow elemental, not of wind but of water. Her name was Wave, and the two clashed as storms do. But trust was built in the undertow, and together they were swept into a conflict neither of them asked for. Demons had burned through the borders. Shanghai teetered on the brink. Lei Ling and Wave had just returned to see the city under siege. While Wave put out fires, Lei Ling rose above it all. Literally. She pulled typhoons from the atmosphere and carved burning creatures from the skyline. She eventually joined others after that, and together they were known as the Agents of Atlas. They were a team, yes, but they also wanted to show that powers don't have to be loud, and that heroism isn't owned by any one place. And whenever Lei Ling was watching others clash with ideologies and international tensions, she often stood as a quiet anchor, but more on that in a later video. She once found herself caught between 2 armies. On one side stood the security forces of Pan, a gleaming portal city built on advanced technology and bold promises. They were being led by Mike Nguyen, a mogul who had secretly weaponized portal technology and sought to control access to Pan for profit. On the other side were citizens and protesters, mostly refugees, mystics, and the displaced, people pushed to the margins and fighting to be heard. Behind them stood heroes like Shang-Chi and Luna Snow, lending their strength to the rising resistance. Lei Ling ended up holding the line, forming a wall of air that stopped the 2 armies from colliding. She didn't shout, she just stood there, wind roaring at her back, eyes calm, and it was enough. But Lei Ling's most resonant moments were always personal. The way she looked at her city from above, not as a protector basking in praise, but as a woman carrying a secret weight. The way she kept her identity hidden, not for fear, but for love, for the people who might be hurt if the truth got out. Her stories offer something rare in the world of superheroes: stillness with purpose. Lei Ling is not driven by vengeance or ego, but by a deep sense of responsibility to the world she helped shape, both with her hands and her heart. As an architect, she builds. As a guardian, she protects. And as a woman balancing 2 lives, she teaches us that strength doesn't have to be loud to be lasting. Her power lies not just in the wind she commands, but in the quiet clarity in which she makes her choices. What makes her stand out is not just her ability to control the skies, but her understanding of when not to act, when to listen, when to observe, and when to trust others. In stories filled with destruction and spectacle, Lei Ling offers a different kind of heroism, deliberate, considered, and rooted in care. She shows us that leadership isn't about charging forward. Sometimes it's about holding the line, staying steady, and knowing the shape of what you're trying to preserve. Through her, we learn that integrity can be just as forceful as any superpower, that protecting something, whether it be a city, belief, or even a relationship, often requires patience, clarity, and sometimes sacrifice. Her legacy is one of quiet defiance, of fear, of imbalance, of losing oneself in the noise. Lei Ling doesn't just shape the wind, she shapes meaning, reminding us that power used wisely can be the strongest force of all.